Before I begin, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for choosing to spend your time here, listening to my story. It means more than you know. In a world that moves so fast, where everyone has somewhere to be and something to do, you stopped. You decided my voice mattered. That feeling of being heard, of knowing someone out there cares enough to listen. It's everything. If you feel the same way, if these stories resonate with you, please subscribe. It helps me keep sharing, keep speaking, keep believing that our stories matter. Now let me tell you what happened. I still remember the exact shade of the sky that Sunday morning, pale gray, like dirty dishwater, stretched thin over the rooftops of our subdivision in Wichita, Kansas. March 12th, 2023. The air had that damp cold that seeps through your coat and settles in your bones. I was standing in front of the bathroom mirror, foundation brush trembling in my hand, trying to cover the bruise that bloomed across my left cheekbone like a watercolor stain. Purple at the center, fading to greenish yellow at the edges. My husband Marcus was in the bedroom, buttoning his shirt. I could hear the soft clicks of each button sliding into place, methodical and calm. That was Marcus, always calm, always controlled. Even 20 minutes ago, when his hand had connected with my face hard enough to knock me into the towel rack, his expression had barely changed. Just a flicker of annoyance, like I was a fly that had landed on his sleeve. "You're going to make us late," he called out. His voice was steady, pleasant even, the same voice he used when ordering coffee or talking to the neighbors. "Almost ready," I said. My own voice sounded thin, stretched tight over the panic lodged in my throat. I layered more foundation over the bruise. My hands were shaking badly enough that I had to steady my right wrist with my left hand. The bruise was still visible beneath the makeup, a shadow that wouldn't disappear no matter how much product I applied. I added concealer, powder, blush to try to distract from it. In the harsh bathroom light, I looked like a poorly painted doll. Marcus appeared in the doorway behind me. In the mirror, I watched him assess my face with the same critical eye he used to inspect the lawn before mowing it. He was handsome in that clean-cut, all-American way. Square jaw, broad shoulders, hair gragging attractively at the temples, even though he was only 43. Everyone at Riverside Fellowship Church loved Marcus. He sang in the choir. He organized the annual charity drive. He always had a warm handshake and a kind word. "That'll have to do," he said. Not unkind, just stating a fact. We'd been married for 16 years. The first 5 had been good, normal. We'd bought this house on Maple Grove Drive, a modest 3-bedroom ranch with a fenced backyard. We'd talked about kids, but never quite got around to it. Marcus worked as an operations manager at a logistics company. I worked part-time at the public library, shelving books and helping patrons find what they needed. Our life had been ordinary in the best possible way. I don't remember exactly when it started changing. It was gradual, like a photograph left too long in the sun, the colors fading so slowly you don't notice, until one day you look and barely recognize what you're seeing. A cutting comment here, a raised voice there. Then the first time he grabbed my arm hard enough to leave finger-shaped bruises. He'd apologized, said work was stressing him out. I'd believed him. The drive to church took 15 minutes. Marcus drove his Chevy Silverado through the quiet Sunday morning streets, NPR playing softly on the radio. I sat in the passenger seat, my purse clutched in my lap, watching the familiar landmarks roll past. The McDonald's on the corner of Broadway and 13th, the strip mall with the vacant Blockbuster, the elementary school where neighborhood kids played basketball on weekends. "Remember to smile," Marcus said as we pulled into the church parking lot. "And if anyone asks, you tripped on the stairs." I nodded. I'd become very good at nodding. Riverside Fellowship was a large brick building with white columns and a steeple that could be seen from blocks away. The parking lot was already half full with cars. Families climbed out, children in their Sunday best, parents carrying Bibles and coffee thermoses. Everyone looked so normal, so whole. Marcus took my hand as we walked toward the entrance. To anyone watching, we looked like any other couple. His grip was firm, possessive. My wedding ring caught the weak morning sunlight. Inside, the church smelled like coffee and old hymnals and the particular scent of industrial carpet cleaner. The sanctuary could seat about 300 people. We always sat in the same spot, 7th pew from the front, right side. Marcus liked consistency. "Morning, Marcus. Rebecca." Dan Pearson, one of the deacons, clapped Marcus on the shoulder as we made our way down the aisle. "Beautiful day for worship." "Amen to that," Marcus said, his smile warm and genuine. I smiled too, said something appropriate. My face hurt where the bruise was, a dull ache that pulsed with my heartbeat. We settled into our pew. Around us, the church filled with the usual Sunday morning sounds, quiet conversations, pages rustling, the organist warming up with a few practice runs. I opened the bulletin and stared at it without reading. The words swam together. Pastor Michael Graves entered from the side door at precisely 10 o'clock. He was in his late 50s, with silver hair and wire-rimmed glasses, wearing the simple black robe he always wore for services. He'd been the pastor at Riverside Fellowship for 12 years. I'd always liked him. He had a gentle way of speaking, like he was sharing stories with friends rather than preaching at a congregation. The service began with hymns. I stood when everyone stood, sat when everyone sat, sang when everyone sang. My voice was automatic, muscle memory taking over while my mind floated somewhere else, somewhere far away from this pew, this church, this life. Then came the sermon. Pastor Graves opened his Bible and looked out at the congregation. His gaze swept across the rows of faces, and for just a moment, it landed on me. I saw something flicker in his expression, recognition, concern. "This morning," he began, "I want to talk about seeing, really seeing, not just looking at the surface of things, but seeing what lies beneath." I felt Marcus shift slightly beside me. "We live in a world that encourages us to look away," Pastor Graves continued, "to mind our own business, to not get involved. But faith calls us to do the opposite. Faith calls us to see each other, to really see the pain, the suffering, the quiet desperation that people carry with them every single day." My throat tightened. I kept my eyes fixed on the pastor, afraid to look anywhere else. In the Gospel of Luke, chapter 10, we find the parable of the Good Samaritan. A man is beaten and left for dead on the road. 2 religious leaders pass by. They see him, but they don't really see him. They look away. They keep walking. But then a Samaritan comes along and he sees, he stops, he helps. Pastor Graves paused. When he spoke again, his voice was softer or more intimate. "Sometimes the people who need help are sitting right next to us, in our homes, in our churches, and we have a choice. We can look away, or we can see." The sermon continued, but I barely heard the rest of it. My heart was pounding so hard, I thought everyone around me must be able to hear it. When the final hymn ended and people began to file out, Marcus's hand found the small of my back, steering me toward the exit. "Rebecca." I turned. Pastor Graves was standing in the aisle, his robe swishing slightly as he moved toward us. "Pastor," Marcus said, extending his hand. "Wonderful sermon today." "Thank you, Marcus." Pastor Graves shook his hand, but his eyes were on me. "Rebecca, could I speak with you for a moment, just briefly?" I felt Marcus's hand tighten against my back. "We really need to get going," Marcus said, still smiling. We have lunch plans. It'll only take a minute, Pastor Graves said. His tone was pleasant but firm. There was a moment of tension, so subtle that probably no one else noticed. Then Marcus's hand fell away from my back. Of course, he said. I'll wait in the truck. I watched him walk away, his shoulders straight, his stride confident. Then I turned back to Pastor Graves. Let's step into my office, he said gently. The pastor's office was small and cluttered, filled with books and papers and a large wooden desk that looked like it had been there since the church was built. He closed the door behind us and gestured to a chair. I sat, my hands folded in my lap. Pastor Graves settled into the chair across from me. He didn't speak right away, just looked at me with those kind, sad eyes. Rebecca, he finally said, what happened to your face? The lie was ready on my tongue. I tripped on the stairs. It was so clumsy of me. I'm fine, really. But when I opened my mouth, what came out was the truth. Marcus hit me. The words hung in the air between us. I'd never said them out loud before, never admitted it, not even to myself, really. And now here they were, solid and undeniable. Pastor Graves didn't look shocked. He looked sad, but not surprised. How long has this been happening? I don't know. A while. It got worse over the last year. Does he hurt you often? I nodded. My eyes were burning, but I refused to cry. Not here. Not now. Rebecca, you need help. You need to leave. I can't. My voice was barely a whisper. I have nowhere to go. My family is all gone. My mom died 3 years ago. My dad's been gone since I was a kid. I don't have money of my own. Marcus controls everything. The church can help. We have resources. There's a women's shelter in downtown Wichita, Hope House. They're equipped to handle situations like this. I can make a call right now. He'll know. If I try to leave, he'll know, and it'll be worse. Pastor Graves leaned forward. Rebecca, I'm going to be very direct with you. Men who hurt their wives don't stop. It only escalates. I've seen this before. I've buried women who waited too long to get help. The weight of his words settled over me like a heavy blanket. What do? I asked. First, we document this. I'm going to take some photos of your face. Then I'm calling Hope House. They'll have someone meet you, help you make a safety plan. You don't have to leave today if you're not ready, but you need to be prepared for when you are. He pulled out his phone. I let him take pictures of my face from different angles, the bruise on full display now that we were in his office with its bright overhead lights. Then he made a phone call. I heard him speaking quietly to someone, giving details, my name, the situation. When he hung up, he wrote something on a piece of paper and handed it to me. This is the direct number for Carla Matthews. She's a counselor at Hope House. She's expecting your call. When you're ready, you call her. They'll help you get out safely. I folded the paper and tucked it into my purse, burying it beneath my wallet and keys where Marcus wouldn't see it. What do I do now? I asked. You go home. You act normal. And when the time is right, when you feel like you can do it safely, you leave. But Rebecca, don't wait too long. I nodded, stood. My legs felt shaky. Thank you, I said. I'm here, Pastor Graves said. Anytime you need to talk, anytime you need help, I'm here. I walked out of the church into the cold March afternoon. Marcus was waiting in the truck, the engine running. I climbed in without looking at him. What did he want? Marcus asked as we pulled out of the parking lot. Just checking in. Wanted to know if I'd be interested in volunteering for the spring fundraiser. Marcus grunted. You already work at the library. You don't have time for church volunteering, too. That's what I told him. We drove home in silence. I stared out the window, watching Wichita slide past. The paper in my purse felt like it was burning a hole through the leather. The next 3 weeks were the longest of my life. I went to work at the library. I came home. I cooked dinner. I kept the house clean. I did everything exactly the way Marcus liked it. And every night, I lay in bed next to him, feeling the weight of that phone number in my purse downstairs like a lifeline I was too afraid to grab. Marcus had 2 modes. There was the public Marcus, charming and helpful and kind, and there was the private Marcus, the one who found fault in everything I did. Dinner was too salty. The house wasn't clean enough. I was gaining weight. I was lazy. I was stupid. The words were constant, a drip of poison that soaked into everything. And sometimes, when the words weren't enough, he used his hands. On April 2nd, Marcus left for a business trip to Omaha. He'd be gone for 3 days. He kissed me goodbye at the door, told me to behave myself, and drove away in his truck. I waited until his truck disappeared around the corner. Then I went inside, pulled out my phone, and dialed the number Pastor Graves had given me. "Hope House, this is Carla." "My name is Rebecca Patterson," I said. "Pastor Michael Graves gave me your number." "Rebecca, yes, I've been hoping you'd call. Are you safe right now?" "My husband is out of town for 3 days." "Okay, that's good. Can you meet me today? We need to move quickly if we're going to get you out safely." 2 hours later, I was sitting in a small office at Hope House, a nondescript building on East Douglas Avenue. Carla Matthews was a woman in her 40s, with short gray hair and a calm, competent manner. She didn't waste time with platitudes or pity. She was all business, and I was grateful for it. "Here's what we're going to do," she said. "First, we're going to help you open a bank account in your name only. Do you have any money saved?" "A little. I've been taking $20 cash back every time I buy groceries for the past year. I have about $800 hidden in a tampon box under the bathroom sink." "Good. That's good. That's smart. We'll get that money into your account. Then we're going to help you pack a bag. Important documents, clothes, anything you can't replace, you'll bring it here. We have a room ready for you." "When?" "Tomorrow, if possible, while he's still out of town." I nodded. My hands were shaking again, but this time it wasn't from fear. It was from something else, something that felt almost like hope. The next morning, I called in sick to the library. Then I went through the house like I was on autopilot. I packed a duffel bag with clothes, toiletries, my birth certificate, my social security card, the few pieces of jewelry my mother had left me. I retrieved the $800 from its hiding place. I took photos of everything with my phone, documentation of the life I was about to leave behind. At noon, I loaded the duffel bag into my car, a 10-year-old Honda Civic that Marcus barely let me drive. I took one last look at the house on Maple Grove Drive. 16 years of my life lived within those walls. I'd been happy here once. The memory of that happiness felt like it belonged to someone else. I drove to Hope House. Carla was waiting. The shelter was more than I expected. It was clean, secure, with a common area and private rooms. The other women there had the same look in their eyes that I saw in my own reflection. Haunted, exhausted, but also, somewhere beneath the trauma, determined. Carla helped me set up the bank account. We went to legal aid, where a lawyer named Jennifer Wu explained the process for filing a protection order. We documented everything, the bruises I still had, the ones that had faded, the photos Pastor Graves had taken, the medical records from the 2 times I'd gone to the urgent care clinic claiming I'd fallen. "This is enough," Jennifer said. "We can file for divorce and a protection order. When does your husband get back from his trip?" "Tomorrow night. We'll file first thing tomorrow morning. The sheriff will serve him at home. You won't have to see him." That night, I lay in the narrow bed in my small room at Hope House and stared at the ceiling. I kept waiting for the regret to hit, for the voice in my head that sounded suspiciously like Marcus to tell me I was making a mistake, that I was overreacting, that things weren't that bad. But the voice never came. Instead, I felt a strange, tentative peace. Marcus called my cell phone 17 times that next day. I didn't answer. Finally, he left a voicemail. His voice was tight, controlled, but I could hear the anger underneath. "Rebecca, where are you? I came home and you're not here. Your car's gone. Call me back. Now." 2 hours later, another voicemail. This one was different, scared. "Rebecca, the police were just here. They gave me papers. What the hell is going on? You need to come home right now so we can talk about this." I deleted the voicemails without listening to the rest. The divorce took 6 months. Marcus fought it at first, claimed I was unstable, that I was making everything up. But Jennifer Wu was relentless. She presented the photos, the medical records, the testimony from Pastor Graves. The judge wasn't impressed with Marcus's denials. The protection order was granted. Marcus was ordered to stay at least 500 feet away from me at all times. The house was sold and the proceeds split. It wasn't much after the mortgage was paid off, but it was enough for me to rent a small apartment in a different part of town and start over. I went back to work at the library. My coworkers knew something had happened, though I never gave them the details. They were kind in that quiet, respectful way, giving me space but letting me know they were there if I needed them. Months passed, then a year. I started seeing a therapist, a woman named Dr. Patel, who specialized in domestic violence survivors. Slowly, painfully, I began to understand that what had happened wasn't my fault, that I hadn't caused Marcus's behavior, that I deserved better. I heard through mutual acquaintances that Marcus had left Riverside Fellowship. He'd moved to Kansas City, started over somewhere no one knew his story. I was glad. I never wanted to see him again. On a Sunday morning in October, almost 2 years after that last morning, I'd sat in the 7th pew with a bruise hidden beneath makeup. I went back to Riverside Fellowship. My hands were shaking as I pulled into the parking lot, but I made myself get out of the car, made myself walk through those doors. Pastor Graves was greeting people in the foyer. When he saw me, his face lit up. "Rebecca," he said, and pulled me into a gentle hug. "It's so good to see you." "I wanted to thank you," I said, "for seeing me, for not looking away." "You did the hard part," he said. "You saved yourself." I sat in a different pew that morning, near the back, where I could see the whole congregation spread out before me. The service was the same as I remembered. The hymns, the prayers, the sermon. But I was different. I'd been broken and had pieced myself back together, and the person I'd become was stronger than the one who'd left. When the service ended, I walked out into the October sunshine. The air was crisp and clean, and the sky was that particular shade of blue that only comes in autumn. I stood there for a moment, feeling the sun on my face, and realized something. I was free. Not just legally, though that was part of it. I was free in a way that went deeper than paperwork and protection orders. I was free of the fear, the constant walking on eggshells, the voice in my head that said I deserved what was happening to me. I drove home to my small apartment, made myself a cup of tea, and sat by the window watching the leaves fall from the trees outside. My life wasn't perfect. I was still healing. I still had bad days when the memories came back sharp and cruel. But I was alive. I was safe. And that was enough. That was everything.